thank you for joining us on another episode of the Buddy Fund podcast. I am here with the PCHS, two members of their organization. First, can I have you guys introduce yourselves and a little bit about your roles in the organization?
I'll start first. And actually, let me start off with saying Presbyterian Children's Homes and Services, it's really a mouthful. So usually when we speak of it, we use the acronym PCHS. It's just a lot easier.
Okay.
So having said that, my name is Debra Paulus, and I'm the Senior Development Officer here in Missouri. And basically what that means is that I do fundraising. I steward the current donors, I solicit new donors, you know, everything development is what I do for
Gotcha.
the agency.
And my name is Robert Giegling, and I am the Senior Vice President of Programs. So I oversee all of our programming in Missouri, Texas, and Louisiana. And I've been with the organization for over 15 years.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to ask you guys a little bit about a brief overview of your organization, give the viewers an idea of what you do for the community and like kind of how your organization goes about.
Sure. I'll start off with a little bit of history. We got our start well years ago in Farmington, Missouri, where four Presbyterian ministers saw the need for a home for children that had been left orphaned due to all the mining accidents that were happening in that region. That region is considered the Lead Belt area, and that's, the mining that was going on back then wasn't all that safe. And so there were a lot of children left orphaned. And that was the birth of the Farmington Children's Home. And it remained an orphanage for many, many years. That's how we got our start. But over the past few decades, the agency has expanded to meet the needs of today's children and families statewide. So PCHS now provides a continuum of care through several different programs to children and families faced with severe challenges, by helping them to find their inner strengths, to overcome obstacles, and to build better futures. Last year here in Missouri, we served over how many?
Over 100,000. Oh, in Missouri.
I think it was about
2,700.
Yeah. So, we're statewide, and that's how we got our start. And that's about all I can say about that.
Yeah.
Well, I will add to that. And Deb touched on this. When I came to the agency, we were primarily providing residential services. We probably had 75 residential beds across the state of Missouri. Over the many years since, we have reduced that number and really have focused on providing more community-based prevention type programs. And along the way, probably 7 or 8 years ago, we affiliated with PCHS of Texas, and we were affiliated for about 4.5 years. And that came about because the two CEOs at the time had known each other for years as professional colleagues and had talked about that idea for many years. And then finally it kind of came to, hey, let's do something. We affiliated. After some time, the decision was made by the board, okay, what are we going to do here? Stay affiliated? Are we going to go our own way? Or should we just merge? And so we merged. And so we're about 3.5 years into this merger. And that kind of lumped us into one organization serving in 3 different states. And so that's where we're at today.
So now I want to ask you a little bit about how the Buddy Fund has worked with your organization to help better the community, what the Buddy Fund has provided from, a donor standpoint and just fundraising, all that good stuff.
Well, I think it was 2016. The Buddy Fund actually approached us, and it was Sandy, actually, and said, we can provide you with all of this really great, brand new, never been used sports equipment for your kiddos. And I mean, we jumped at the opportunity because, how wonderful is that? And so we've had this relationship with you all since then. And every year we get all these baseball bats and baseballs and helmets and just everything.
Balls, basketballs.
Anything to do with outdoor sports, we get from you all. And we provide to our kiddos. The majority of our kids are underprivileged. They were usually all at risk. And, for the most part, they would never have such nice equipment to use. So we're very blessed to have this relationship with the Buddy Fund.
So I want to ask you too a little bit more of a personal question. So, and you both can answer this. Growing up, what were some ways that you have been impacted in your life and kind of influenced you to want to help out in the community? And maybe if you had a role model, but what are some reasons that you guys get involved in the community and are a part of this organization?
Well, I can tell you this. It wasn't like I had some grand plan, but all along, ever since I was, a kid, I really had a problem seeing children that were neglected or abused. In my grade school, there were a couple kiddos that would come in, and half the time they were dirty. They very rarely had lunch with them, or money for milk. And although the teacher was very, very nice, would take care of them, they felt humiliated. And I felt humiliated for them. And then there were other kids that would tease them and mock them. And there were times that I would go home from school and my mother had a hard time consoling me. I could not understand how there was any fairness at all to this. And and as an adult, I still cannot. So long ago, I felt the need to help children. And so here I am today with PCHS being able to do just that. So it's kind of remarkable in a way.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll just have to be honest. I'm not as altruistic and not a nice person as Deb.
I knew that.
I think early on, actually, I think the funny part here is I thought I was going to be a professional baseball player, like Buddy Blattner. That didn't work out. However, I got my degree. My degree was in psychology, and really kind of behavioral health, mental health always fascinated me. And so my thought was I would move into that field and help people who suffered from mental illness. And really, throughout my career, it's always been connected to mental health, treatment, therapy, and so I've just kind of moved along a path that now puts me here at PCHS to where it's a mix of behavioral health, mental health, child welfare. Many of the children, the teenagers that we serve, they suffer from trauma. They do have a diagnosis, so it's all connected, and I've always found that to be very challenging, and the work to be very rewarding. Throughout my career, I was a case manager, I was a therapist, and so I was really kind of hands-on, providing that support, providing that treatment one-on-one. And as I kind of moved up into the more administrative, director, manager type roles, I realized what I did, the planning that I did, the decisions that I made really impacted many kids, many families at one time. And so today, from where I'm at, we are always looking to expand and grow and meet a need, and that's what we do. And like I said, I think it's part of my sports background. I love a good challenge, and what we do here every day is challenging, whether it's one family or whether it's one program or whether it's one community. And so that's kind of, I think, why I am where I am today. And I just want to add one piece to the Buddy Fund and the sporting equipment. I think nothing's better than sports and kids having an opportunity to play sports. I know our kids at Farmington were able to get those balls and bats and gloves and equipment and really enjoy themselves, have an opportunity that they would have had before. Well, today we have many programs right here in the St. Louis metropolitan area, and those kids are now able to, enjoy and have the opportunity of using that equipment. We every Christmas we have a big Christmas store. A lot of that equipment is in that Christmas store, and kids get new bats and new balls and basketballs. So I believe on a personal and I think professional level as well, sports are a great way for kids to learn and grow and develop character and all those things. So I think there's a really good connection between the kids and families we serve and the use of the Buddy Fund equipment that they get. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. From another personal standpoint, what has your experience with this organization taught you, and on the way that you live today? How has that impacted your life, and I guess kind of made you, develop into a better person that you are today? But what is your experience with this organization? How has that helped you in your life?
I can say that it really taught me to be very grateful. And I'm not saying that I wasn't always grateful for my parents, but boy, I tell you what, when you hear some of these stories and you meet some of these parents, you realize how really fortunate you were growing up with, two nice parents that took care of us and always made sure the house was warm and food was in the refrigerator. It really does put things into perspective, and and I think I pass that along to people as well, like my friends and family, because you really don't realize how tough these kids have it until you see it,
Yeah.
firsthand. It's just unbelievable.
Mhm.
Well, and I can't argue with that. That's a great point. You realize um, how fortunate we are, and how I think about it, how fortunate I'm as a child. Both my parents were in the home. Was our life perfect? No. Were we set? No. But we had that everyday kind of parent support.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't face trauma or abuse or
Mm-mm.
neglect, and 99% of the children and families that we work with, they've all experienced that, the trauma. And it's easy to sit and point fingers. There are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. I think for me personally, yes, I am very grateful for my upbringing. I'm grateful for the life I have now.
Mhm.
I try to instill that in my kids. I have several kids, and I often talk about, as they're all becoming young adults, every opportunity that you can volunteer, you should do that. Give blood, that's something everyone needs. That's giving back to the community, and I think that's something I learned from this organization, as well as really kind of being nimble,
Humble.
being flexible, being humble. These are all things that as an organization we do every day. And so I think those are all very positive things that I try to take on as a person as well.
Well, that, and also knowing that these kids, sometimes as traumatized as they are, um, there's still a fighting chance to give them a good future. So, we have so many success stories that we are always focusing upon, because it's just better to focus on the positive rather than the negative. Because I mean, you can't save everyone, but we do a really, really good job, and we're doing it right. We simply cannot do it alone. If it wasn't for the fact that I am out there actively fundraising from individuals, and then the grants that we get from foundations, well, and the support that we get from organizations like the Buddy Fund, who gives these wonderful in-kind gifts. We simply could not be providing our kids with the kind of care that they absolutely have to have in order to, you know, get better.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're very grateful.
Yeah, and that's obviously very important because I'm going to skip ahead to that question and ask you a little bit about how the viewers can help and impact because you talked a lot about, you're needing help from the community. So how can people around the area of St. Louis and even your other location, and it's Texas, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to point something out though, Jamie. The money that we raise here in Missouri stays in Missouri
Okay.
to support the children here in
Hmm.
Missouri. So we're independent from Texas in that aspect.
Okay.
Um, and you know, like I had said before, we have programs all over the state. Farmington, in Springfield, in Columbia, and in St. Louis. And there are, number one, I want to say, first of all, cash is king. You know, if someone would walk into my office tomorrow and say, what can I do to help you? Number one, I would say, can you write a check? You know, I mean, that might sound a little bold, but, you know, cash is king. But then there's also volunteerism. And depending on the area, um, like Springfield has many more volunteer opportunities because they have a residential treatment center there where they have girls that are in transitional living. So that particular program is more in need of volunteers than, say, a community-based program. Um, but there still are opportunities out there, and I would urge your listeners to get on to social media and check us out because, like I said, every area has various opportunities.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly link you guys' information below, your website and the social media. The last question I want to ask you guys is: at the end of the day, why is your organization so important to the community? And even down the road, how can what are you guys looking forward to most about your organization and how you can help out the community?
And we have a variety of funding streams. And
Mhm.
again, as an organization, to be a strong organization, you want to have a variety of funding sources. You don't want all your eggs in one basket. And therefore, we have state contracts, we have county contracts, uh, and we have private funding.
Mhm.
And that, for the most part, rounds out how we receive our funds. Here in
Mhm.
Missouri, we have a contract with the state of Missouri to provide residential services. We also have local county contracts, St. Louis County, Boone County, Lincoln County, um, that we provide services in those counties. Now, it's those services because their dollars are tax dollars, those services are limited to those counties. But other counties that have tax funds, if we have the possibility, if we have the opportunity, we may apply in those counties as well. So we do have a variety of funding sources.
Gotcha.
But most importantly, I think, is we are very intentional and strategic in what is the need in a community, and then do we have a service or do we have the expertise to meet that need? If we do, we'll look to get funded in that area. If we don't, we're not going to just chase the dollar.
Awesome. So I want to give you guys one last chance for concluding thoughts before we wrap things up. So if you guys both want to give us a little bit, maybe information about why this all matters or how people again can help out, that'd be great.
No means are we perfect, but we really do have some really good outcomes in all of our programs. Now and then there's one or two that are struggling, but I do think we are good stewards of the resources that we have, whether it's donated money, whether it's contract money, um, and we're efficient and effective in the services that we deliver. Um, Deb touched on the whole Presbyterian thing. Yes, we serve anyone, any family, any child. That doesn't matter. Employees, you don't have to be Presbyterian to work here. I'm not Presbyterian. Deb's not
Mm-mm.
Presbyterian. I would like to end with, if that's okay, a story I want to tell. There's a question here. It's number 7. What is your favorite part about giving back? I went and was going to go to Easter Mass with my mom and dad at their church. And so church is over, and I'm standing in the back, and I'm talking with my parents. And this kid had a knack for calling me Doc. He thought I was a doctor. I wasn't a doctor. But he called me Doc. And I hear this, "Hey, Doc." And I immediately knew his voice. I knew it was him. And at first I'm like, oh God, does he have a gun, or am I in trouble? And I turned around, and he's standing there, and he had a coat and tie, and he's got his arm around some gal, and he goes, "This is my gal, this is so-and-so." And he goes, "I thought that was you, and I just wanted to let you know that I made it." And I was like, oh my God. And I think his name was Michael. I said, "Michael, I'm shocked. I'm pleased for you. I didn't have high hopes that you would make it." He goes, "Yeah, me and my gal got a place, and I'm a roofer, and I made it." And I say this because, why do I do this? It's just rewarding. And that was one of those rewarding moments where sometimes, many times, most times, we don't know what happens to the clients we serve. And this was just the stars aligned right. He came back to that church because, as I mentioned, that foster home was in the same neighborhood, and he probably had been there before. And here it is, Easter Sunday, and this kid came to church. And we talked for a few minutes, and I said good luck, and I never saw him again. But talk about feeling good. I felt great.
Yeah.
Because it was just so self-rewarding to know, even though at the time when I served this kid, he was a complete pain. I felt he didn't hear a word I said, but he did. And he came back years later to tell me, "Hey, you had an impact, influenced me," and he made it. So again, the kids we serve, it's a different clientele. They're not the valedictorians of their classes. They're not the prom king or queen. But when we have kids who really live on their own, they're self-sufficient, and they're not in prison, that's a huge win for us, and really kind of a success story. So I wanted to end with that. Unless Deb, you want to add something else?
No, I couldn't follow that if I wanted to.
Mm.
That's
And
that is
unless you have other questions, I think we're good.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you giving me and the Buddy Fund the opportunity to share your story. I hope that with this episode, you will have more people donate and volunteer. Like you said, cash is king, but any way that they can do that, they can help out. That's going to do it for us on this episode of the Buddy Fund. Thank you all so much for joining us.